My great-nephew James was last seen January 4th on surveillance video at a Walgreens. I would typically see James at least once a week for sure. James loved to play. We'd help him walk, but once he started walking, forget it. We couldn't stop him, and he spent all his time at the sliding door playing with the dogs. We had a winter storm here, February the 14th. I picked Delaney up, asked her where James was. She said with a family friend. And I asked which family friend, Delaney, because I'm like, your only family here. She said that James was with a cousin named Lisa. I didn't know who Lisa was. I did ask her that night if we could video chat with James. Delaney was like, he's taking a nap. The next day I said, I need to know where James is at. And then she just stopped texting completely. I had been hounding her about where James is at. She finally decided to tell me.
I put him up for adoption.
No, Delaney.
Yes, I did.
She told me that she'd given him up for adoption. I was devastated.
I know the family, and they love him, and I've known them for 2 years, and it's a clean slate for him, and he doesn't have to worry about who his dad is or who I am.
The only reason why I made the recording was because there was already something not right with Delaney. I still don't believe that he's up for adoption. I had filed a missing persons report on February the 22nd when I decided to enter the house. I went in through the window. First of all, the stench in the house, and I was just trying to find her. I saw in the middle of the master bedroom the blanket that had blood on it, and it's the shape of a baby. I've never smelled a dead body or anything like that, so to me, the smell was just disgusting. I couldn't take the smell. The only one question that I want to ask her is, where's James? Where's James?
Well, Marisol Gomez joins us now virtually from Texas. Marisol, thank you so much. I'm sorry for the occasion, but I'm certainly glad to meet you.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Phil.
You've talked to Delaney, and you say that you first became alarmed in February. There was a real big storm in Texas where it was just bitterly cold for days and days and days, and you went to check on her. You wanted to check on her to be sure she was okay, right?
Right. I had texted her on that Tuesday and asked her if she was okay, if they had power, because we had lost power and she lives really close to me. So
Right.
that's why I texted her, and she said that they were okay. And I said, okay, what about the power? And she said they didn't have any power. And I asked her if I could go pick them up. And she said yes, but she was washing.
Okay. And when you talk about losing power, it was down to like zero, which you don't think about. So it was bitterly cold, and pipes were freezing, and people were losing power. And so when you went to get her, she got in the car without James, correct?
Correct.
Were you surprised?
I was shocked because it's not like her to leave James anywhere.
Yeah.
So I asked her, where's James? And she just said, with a family friend.
Now, this is way out of pattern, correct? So for her to let the baby sleep away without her kind of hovering and being around was way out of character for her.
Big time, because she wasn't that kind of mom that would leave him with anybody. She didn't even like going to work to leave him here, at my house, because she was so attached to him. She was always worried about him. So it was hard. And when I didn't see him with her, I was shocked.
Okay, and at this point, the child's 18 months old, right?
Correct.
And she says that he's staying with who?
She said a family friend. And then when we asked her again, she said, Elisa. Like, I don't even know anybody named Lisa that would be here.
All right, and you say that she was acting completely normal. It wasn't that she was out of sorts, depressed, in shock, freaking out, anxious. She was acting like, what's the big deal?
And she was acting like she normally does. Like, okay, I get it. It's a winter storm. He's safe. So I figured, okay, he's safe with somebody. She's here. She's talking to the kids. She's playing with my grandson. She made plans of making a play date. We ate dinner, and like nothing. She was on her phone like usual.
Okay, and
That was
you had observed her with this child many, many times, right?
numerous
And
times.
was she attentive? Was she loving? Was she nurturing?
Very. She loved that little boy. She was always hugging him, cleaning his hands. She didn't like for him to be dirty. She always had his diaper bag full of diapers, wipes, snacks, you name it, she had it. Always telling him how much she loves him and she's kissing him and he's always kissing on her.
And you had concerns because it's out of character for her to send him somewhere because of what you just described, that this had never happened before. Uh, did you ask her about that? What's the deal? You've never done this before? Where is he? Are are we gonna go pick him up? What did she say when you followed up?
Yeah, we did that afternoon that she was standing with my son. My son said, "I bet you it's really hard for you right now, Delaney." She's like, "For what?" Like, "Because you've never been away from James, huh?" She goes, "Oh no, I have." And he's like, "Oh, you have?" She's like, "Yeah. When I went to the store or something, he would stay with my friend." And my son's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "All right, well, can we call him? Can we go get him?" I know that day, that first day that she had stayed here, we were really, it was up to, I think, 18 degrees or 12 degrees, somewhere around there. So I knew it was hard for us to drive. So I was okay with not going to get him on that Tuesday. But then that night, I told her, "Can we at least video chat with him? Can you call him so we could talk to him?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll message him and, we'll see." Left it alone, asked her again. She still didn't say anything. So we ended up eating dinner and, I told her again, "Are we going to talk to James? Are we picking him up tomorrow?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll let them know." Well, in the morning when I asked her, "Can we go get James now?" And she's like, "Oh, he's asleep because he stayed up all night."
Oh, okay. So you wanted to FaceTime with him, and she just kept coming up with excuses. Now, you actually recorded a conversation with her, and after the break, we're going to listen to that, and I want to ask you to comment on it because Delaney goes missing soon after her child goes missing, and when Marisol goes looking for her, she discovers something that makes her fear that James was not placed with another family, but in fact could have met with a very, very bad outcome. So, Marisol, when you went in, what was your first impression?
Utter disgust. Delaney being such a neat freak that she was, I couldn't believe how much trash was in there. And the stench was overwhelming. I couldn't take that smell. I didn't know what it was. I was like, it's just something dead in here. The house was infested with rats. It was a really disgusting smell.
And has there been any tests done to identify what that smell is?
Well, no, but the house was infested with rats. So as I've been cleaning it now, the smell's been going away. So I assume it's from the feces and urine from the rats and the dead rats as well.
And you took a picture of a sheet that you believed was used in the crib, and that sheet was then tested and had human blood on it, but it wasn't believed to be James's blood, correct?
That I don't know if it's his or hers or whose. The detectives never mentioned to me. I didn't even know anything about the blood until I read it in the affidavits where it said that it was found that it was human blood.
Okay, so you learned that after the fact. What did you think it was when you saw it?
The way it was wrapped, and I saw a little foot and a body. To me, it looked like something was wrapped in there, and I, of course, broke down. And my husband's trying to get me out of the room. He's like, "Let's just go. Let the police come in. Let the police come in." And I was so scared that it was James.
Okay, now when you say a little foot, you mean there was a bump in the blanket that looked like it would have been a foot, that you didn't actually see a body?
No, no, I didn't see a body. If you look at the image and you look at it from right to left,
Uh-huh.
you look how it curves, and it looks like there's a little, like it would be a foot. His little leg, his butt, and his body.
And so when you saw that with the smell and then what you saw, you thought, oh my God, this is this baby.
Yes. Oh
And
my God. I
so
it,
you freaked out. Obviously, anyone would.
yes, sir.
Okay. You also recorded a conversation with her. And why did you record a conversation with her?
Because she was already a little sketchy, and I wanted to make sure that what she was telling me was going to be something that she was going to stick to. Her being off character the way she was, it didn't make any sense to me. So the only right thing to do was to record the conversation so she couldn't recant anything that she said or said, "Oh no, you're saying whatever you want to say. I didn't say that."
Okay. And we'll listen to that in just a second. But when you say out of character, when you saw the house the way it was, that's not the way she lived, correct?
Correct. No, she was a very neat person, very always cleaning.
How long before, since you had been in the house, before you saw it the way you saw it on that day?
Well, I hadn't been into the house in a while. I would say the last time was maybe in August. I didn't have a reason to go in. Every time she'd call me to pick her up, I would just tell her, okay, I'm almost there. She'd be waiting for me. But
Okay,
my brother-in-law was there in November.
and what did he note?
Nothing. He said everything was fine in November.
Okay,
That
so
was for Thanksgiving.
whatever happened in terms of that place deteriorating between what you saw and the way you say she normally lived, that deterioration was between the end of November and the middle of February when you were in there.
Correct.
So in that 3.5 months, it went from normal to what you found some way.
In some way, yes. Yeah, the room that all that stuff is in was a room that she wasn't using anymore. But my brother-in-law said he didn't really smell anything out of the ordinary. He didn't go into the room because she wouldn't allow him. It was always
Okay.
locked.
All right. And when you recorded her, you wanted to talk to her and she said she didn't want to do it at the house. She wanted to do it in the car. Let's listen to the conversation you had with her.
Where's James?
I'm working. I put him up for adoption.
No, Delaney.
Yes, I did. Maddie, I
Delaney,
can't.
why didn't you let me have
No,
him?
I'm sorry, but
What is wrong?
nothing's wrong. It's just I can't. I can't.
That's not right, Delaney.
I know it's not right, but he's fine. He's in a house and he's.
No, no.
I'm sorry, but when he's with you, he's still here.
So
He
what? So
deserves
what?
something just new, and he doesn't.
No.
He doesn't.
I can't believe you did that.
I knew if I had told y'all what I was doing and what I was gonna do, y'all would have just talked me out of it. And
Yeah, but we could have kept him. We could have kept him. Why did you do that?
he needed somewhere just stable and just.
Oh, well, we're not stable.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just he needs two parents and a life where he doesn't have to just question things. And
I can't believe you did that. Oh, a whole year.
I knew I couldn't be a mom, and I tried my hardest to tell y'all. And
Delaney,
I
I was
told
always
my
offering. I was always offering to help you. I always offered, and I can tell you, like, if we could pick them up. You had help. There was options there.
it's a clean slate for him, and he doesn't have to worry about who his dad is or who I am. Matthew has an ownership over me because my name is completely smeared. You look up my name, and you get him. And then it doesn't take long before you figure out who my mom is and who my brothers are. And I was that kid growing up, and it's not a good feeling.
You're asking her right then what happened. She says, I put him up for adoption. And you said, no, you didn't. At that point, she breaks down and starts crying, right?
No, that's me crying. She didn't cry at all.
And you said, why didn't you let me have him? What did she say?
She said that because if he's with me, he's still here.
If he's with you, then he's still in this situation, this circumstance?
Yes, she wanted him away from all of this, all up from the family.
Now, there were 2 murders in this extended family, and obviously the father of this baby was in prison for murder, and then the maternal grandmother was in prison for murder, and so she was saying, I want to get away from all this.
I've seen a lot of Dr. Phil shows, and if anybody could help with this, would be him. He's known everywhere. People watch him, people believe in him and what he does. I'm just asking for him to help me. This is an 18-month-old baby at the time. It has no voice. I'm his voice right now. With Dr. Phil's help, I could have a bigger voice. This is a baby. What if it was your baby? What if it was your family?
Well, I'm talking to Mary Saul, the great aunt of 1-year-old James Chairez. Now, he was last seen on a surveillance video with his mother in Texas on January 4th. Now, that was the last sign of him that we know of before he vanished seemingly into thin air. Now, Delaney claims that she secretly put her son up for adoption. His Aunt Mary Saul fears something far more sinister has taken place here, because she's saying this just doesn't make sense. It's completely out of character. The mother would not have done this without consulting with people that love and support her. It just would not have happened. Now, then on February 21st, Delaney is seen alone in a Walgreens on surveillance footage. So we know that she walks into a Walgreens then, and she doesn't have the baby. Then you can see Delaney is spotted alone on a security video from a local bus. So she's caught on camera on the bus. She's caught on camera at the Walgreens. She's alone both times. So clearly the baby's not with her now. And by now, the cold snap is over. Things are getting back to normal. If the baby had been spending the night, it would have been back. And what reason can you think of that she would have to not tell you where the baby had been adopted to? Any reason you know of?
None. I've racked my brain trying to think about why, out of all people, wouldn't she be able to tell me this? I understood her reasoning for wanting something different for James, but not at least talking to me about it before doing it, or telling me she can't and she won't show me proof of where he is. That just didn't sit well with me.
All right, and Mary Saul, she's in jail right now, correct, in Texas?
Yes.
And she's charged, and I'm not quoting the exact language of the charge, but she's basically in for child abandonment.
Correct.
So if she knew that this baby was safe in the hands of someone else to escape the child abandonment charges, all she would have to do is say, well, the baby's with these folks at this address. You can confirm that and see that I didn't abandon the child. I have allowed him to stay with someone else, which is her right as a mother, as long as it's a safe and non-negligent environment. She could easily just say where the baby is and walk right out of that jail, correct?
Correct.
Here are some text from Marisol to Delaney. This is on February 18th at 9:07 p.m. Marisol text, SAPD, as long as you don't respond and don't produce, you will be in the system. I'm not leaving. The PD will be on standby. All you had to do was produce James. I'm sorry, but not sorry. You need to be truthful. Delaney, we can talk in the morning. Marisol, no, we can talk now. Delaney, Tia, please, in the morning, I promise. Marisol, no, you said that yesterday. I'm not doing this. Delaney, I promise. Marisol, no. Delaney, I have a massive migraine right now, please. First thing in the morning. No, I promise. And then you say, I need answers. I don't care. I need to know James is alive and okay. You gave him to a stranger before me. I'm going to fight for him. Delaney, he's safe. Trust me. Then you say, please, Delaney, don't do this. I need to see a picture of him. How do I know he isn't dead? I can't let it go. Show me a picture of papers. Show me a picture he is alive. This doesn't make sense. Tell me the truth. I need confirmation. To which she says, he isn't dead, Tia. I'll reconsider. Okay, just give me a little time. Now, is she saying she'll reconsider this adoption?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that was an option if you did a proper adoption.
At that point, I said I didn't believe her anyway. I knew that Matthew would have had to sign paperwork.
Now, Matthew is the father. He's in prison convicted of murder of his mother. And you would think, well, he shouldn't have any rights to this child. Should or shouldn't, unless his parental rights have been terminated through the court system, he does still have a say in this child's life. And to your knowledge, his parental rights have not been terminated.
Correct.
So, in order to do a proper adoption, both biological parents, if they are alive and of sound mind and body, would have to agree to the adoption, and you have no knowledge of that happening whatsoever, correct?
Correct. I spoke to an attorney about it, asking him what would be the procedures of an adoption, and he said no legal adoption agency would take the baby without signatures of both parents.
Absolutely not. So if this in fact did happen, if she put this baby with another family, it sounds like it would be some kind of bootleg situation, some kind of illicit adoption that went around the system.
Right.
So none of this smells right. This doesn't pass the smell test at all. All right,
No.
coming up, Marisol says if James is alive, she fears he may have been sold by his own mother. Is that possible? Now, none of this has been proven. We'll talk about this after the break. 1-year-old Texas toddler James Chairez has been missing now for more than 3 months. This all started in a bitter winter storm in Texas, where any exposure to the elements could be deadly for a child. Delaney claims she secretly put up her son for adoption. I'm using her words. Now, I'm talking to great aunt Marisol, who reports that Delaney was an attentive and loving mother, and that even letting the child out of her sight for an evening to spend the night with a friend or another family would have been out of character for her. Marisol says when she went into the home to try and find out any information that might be helpful, that it was an absolute mess. There was a stench that was overwhelming, and there was a blanket that appeared to, at least what the police now say, had human blood on it. No more detail has been given about that. Now, Marisol, there was some information that the police received a shocking tip that someone saw baby James with his mother in a deserted park in the dead of night. When did this supposedly happen?
February 2nd.
February 2nd. Okay, and was this a credible tip? Did they follow this up? What did they find out?
Yes, the detective had told me that they had a credible tip at a undisclosed location, that they had seen Delaney and James together, but they wouldn't tell me where the location was at first. He just said, just know it's a credible tip. And I said, okay.
Now, you also said when you went into the house, you found all the documentation for James that if an adoption had taken place, these papers, immunization records, social security number, all the things that go along with keeping records of a child, they were still there, correct?
Correct. Even her social security card was still left there.
Okay, but if you're adopting a child, as adoptive parents, you want all of the medical history for the baby's life up to date. You would want to know all that information. So all of these documents would be turned over with the child, correct?
Correct. She had a folder with all of James's information in it. When she would take him to the doctor, her birth plan was all left in there. So when I saw all of that stuff left, I said, "There's no way that this could be a legit adoption.
Uh-huh.
Not with all these documents that she left behind.
Was she dating anyone?
Not that I know of."
And you say that she may have sold the child. I mean, that's one option, of course. Is there some reason you think that might be a possibility here?
At first, I thought maybe that's what she did. She sold him because she wanted a fresh start. Not sold him like black market type sold, but just so these people gave her some money to start her life over. But if that were the case, I think she would have bought a car and she would have left. And I would have never had the opportunity to have questioned her. She would have been gone way before this.
Next, could alleged gunshots and arguing heard at Delaney's home hold clues to what really happened to baby James? We'll talk about that. Was she involved, as far as you know, in any kind of drug behavior or drug activity?
No. She told me she tried him years ago and it just wasn't for her. So she just didn't like it.
Okay, so she wasn't a drug addict. She wasn't on meth or coke or heroin or anything. I'm trying to see if there's any theory, any causation that would result in a mother that you had observed as being caring and nurturing, all of a sudden just saying, my baby's gone and I can't give you any details. And I'm trying to see if there's something that changed her personality, put her in an altered state of consciousness, if she was around someone that maybe did something that she's covering for. I'm just looking for any possible explanation of why this baby is no longer around.
Right. I know I heard from neighbors that they had heard gunshots and yelling coming from her home the week before the winter storm. And that would be the only thing I could think if she was involved with the wrong kind of people and maybe an accident happened.
Okay, so between the 7th and 10th, they hear the commotion with the gunshots. She says she gives him up on the 10th.
Correct.
And then you check on her once the storm begins.
And then she didn't respond to me. So on the 16th, I text her again and she responded.
What have the detectives told you about what she is now saying, or her mood, her state of mind, anything that they've shared with you?
The only thing they've told me is that her stories are very inconsistent. They know that she's lying, but her not telling them anything is making it harder for them to find any kind of clues of where James may be.
If you had to draw a conclusion, make a speculation, and I'm just asking your opinion, and I'm not asking you to make an accusation, but your fear is that this child has met with foul play, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, everything leads to that.
but can you envision her doing something like that based on what you know about her?
No, no.
So is your theory that someone else may have acted and that she's either afraid to come forward or is covering for someone?
Not necessarily someone, maybe an accident happened with her and James at home, and she's scared and didn't know what to do. And she didn't want to end up like her mom.
Well, Marisol, I thank you for all of your insights and understanding about this, and it helps to shine a bright light on this because a lot of lives are being turned upside.
Developing story we've been following for you, the search for missing baby James.
Agents with the FBI response team were searching through Delaney's home. They removed furniture from what we understand was once a storage closet. And around back, it appears investigators taped off more property.
Search for baby James Chairez appears to be over. Family members have confirmed to us that baby James has been found dead. The San Antonio Police Department releasing a statement to us that investigators have found human remains at a trailer park off of West Military Drive. They have not ID'd the body, but the family has said that baby James is unfortunately now dead.